Have you noticed this strange feeling? Nothing in your life is obviously wrong. You wake up in the morning. You move through your day. You do what needs to be done. You answer messages. You make decisions. You hold things together. And yet, somewhere underneath all of that, something feels slightly out of place. Not dramatic. Not overwhelming. Just quietly uncomfortable. You might feel it when the house goes quiet. Or in the shower, when no one is watching. Or in the few seconds before sleep, when the noise of the day finally fades. There is a sense that you are present, but not fully here. As if you are living your life one step removed from yourself. You don't feel broken. You don't feel depressed. You don't feel like everything is falling apart. You just feel disconnected. If this sounds familiar, stay with me for a moment. Because this experience is not a failure. It is not weakness. And it is not something you need to fix quickly. Carl Jung saw this again and again in his work. People came to him not because their lives had collapsed, but because their inner life had gone quiet. They were functioning, working, caring for others, doing what life asked of them, and yet they felt strangely absent from themselves. They would say things like, "I don't know what I want anymore," or, "I feel like I'm watching my life instead of living it." Nothing dramatic had happened. No crisis. No obvious trauma. Yet something essential was missing. Jung understood this not as a problem to solve, but as a signal. A signal that the soul was trying to speak. Early in life, all of us learn how to adapt. We learn how to belong, how to be accepted, how to stay connected to the people we depend on. As children, we quickly discover which parts of us are welcomed, which emotions are allowed, which behaviors bring closeness, and which parts create distance or discomfort. Slowly, without realizing it, we adjust. We soften certain impulses. We hide others. We emphasize what works. Over time, we build a version of ourselves that fits into the world. A version that functions. A version that keeps things running. Jung called this version the persona. The persona is not fake. It is not a lie. It is a necessary adaptation. It helps us survive. It helps us navigate relationships, work, and society. But problems begin when we forget that this is only one part of who we are. One of Jung's patients was a man who had always been described as kind and reasonable. People trusted him. They relied on him. He was admired for his calm and steadiness. But inside, he felt empty. He told Jung that he no longer felt anger, joy, or excitement. Only responsibility. Only obligation. Only the weight of doing what was expected. Jung recognized this immediately. The man had not lost his emotions. He had learned to silence them. The parts of us that do not fit the persona do not disappear. They go underground. Jung called this underground space the shadow. The shadow is not bad. It is unfinished life. It holds feelings we were not allowed to express. Needs that felt inconvenient. Desires that felt unsafe. Creativity that seemed impractical. Tenderness that felt too vulnerable. As children, many of us learned that being too emotional caused problems. Being angry created distance. Being sensitive made others uncomfortable. So we adapted. Quietly. Intelligently. Brilliantly. But adaptation always has a cost. When the shadow is ignored for too long, it begins to demand attention. Not loudly at first. Not dramatically. Just through subtle signals. You may feel tired in a way sleep does not fix. You may feel restless without knowing why. You may feel bored with a life that looks perfectly fine from the outside. You may lose interest in things that once mattered deeply. This is not laziness. It is not a lack of discipline. It is not burnout in the usual sense. Jung noticed that when people lived too far from their inner truth, the psyche withdrew energy. Motivation faded. Meaning thinned. Life felt flatter, even when it was full. One woman came to Jung complaining of anxiety that appeared every morning before work. Medically, nothing was wrong. Her life was stable. Her job was secure, but psychologically, she was exhausted. She had learned early in life to be agreeable and capable. She rarely expressed dissatisfaction. Over time, her body began to speak for her. The anxiety was not random. It was a message. The soul does not punish us. It compensates. When the inner world is ignored, it finds other ways to speak. Through the body, through emotions, through sudden shifts in desire, through dreams. Dreams often change during this period. People dream of being chased, of houses with locked rooms, of familiar places collapsing or transforming. Jung understood these images symbolically. The house is the psyche. The hidden rooms are parts of the self that were never lived. This is the moment when the soul begins what we can call a coup. Not a violent rebellion, not chaos, but a deep inner reordering. The soul slowly withdraws its support from a life that has become too narrow. Old motivations stop working. Old identities feel heavy. Old goals lose their pull. People often describe this stage as confusion, as loss of direction, as a quiet sadness with no clear cause. If this resonates with you, pause for a second. If you're new here, welcome, stay with me for a moment. And if this space feels grounding, you're invited to like and subscribe so we can continue these reflections together. At some point, the discomfort deepens. The alchemists called this phase nigredo, the darkening. Life feels dull. Colors fade. Even positive things feel distant. Joy feels muted. Hope feels theoretical. Modern culture teaches us to fix this immediately, to distract from it, to medicate it away, to label it and move on. But Jung saw this phase differently. He saw it as necessary. He saw it as a time when the old identity begins to loosen its grip. One of his patients once said, "I feel like I'm losing myself." Jung replied gently, "You are losing who you thought you were." This stage is not meant to be rushed. It is meant to be listened to. The mistake many people make is trying to solve a soul problem with ego solutions. Trying to optimize their way out of discomfort. Trying to return to how things used to be. But the soul is not asking for efficiency. It is asking for honesty. The real shift begins when the question changes. Not, how do I get back to normal? But, what part of me has been ignored? This is where dialogue begins. You start paying attention to your dreams, to your emotional reactions, to the moments where resistance shows up. Not to obey them blindly, but to understand them. You notice what drains you, what quietly excites you, what feels alive when you allow yourself to slow down. Jung believed that healing was not about eliminating tension. It was about holding opposites. Stability and freedom. Responsibility and desire. Structure and vitality. This process is called individuation. Not becoming better. Becoming whole. Individuation does not mean abandoning your life. It means inhabiting it more fully. One patient told Jung that after years of inner work, her life looked simpler on the outside, but felt heavier inside. Heavier in a good way. Grounded. Present. Real. When the soul's coup is integrated, you do not become perfect. You become present. You stop living by shoulds. You begin living by an inner compass. If your life feels like it is quietly rearranging itself, you are not failing. You are being invited. The soul does not stage a coup to destroy you. It stages a coup to bring you back. If this reflection speaks to something you have been feeling but could not explain, there is more we will explore together. Thank you for being here with me. Take care of your heart. And may love always guide your path.